Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. My husband's been asking his friends if they'd sleep with me. Our first story comes from the BestofRedditorUpdates subreddit, posted by a throwaway account. My 37 male husband's been talking about me, 32 female, to his friends. I've been married to my husband for 4 years now, together for 10 years. We have no children and don't plan to. We have a great relationship and marriage so far, with an active sex life. I haven't felt or noticed any red flags in the marriage, and I didn't feel there were any from his side either. 2 nights ago, we were relaxing and watching a movie together when he asked what I thought of his friend. Let's call him Alex. I asked why, and he asked if I thought he was attractive. I said, yeah, sure, he's a good-looking guy, but I was confused. He then asked if I'd have sex with him if I was single. That took me completely by surprise, and I asked where that was even coming from. He then said they'd been secretly fantasizing about me being intimate with his friends. He also said that he'd spoken about this with his friends too, and that there was some interest. This was way too much for me to handle, and I asked him why he would even consider this without asking me. I said I had no interest in this at all, and wondered what else he'd shared. He's taken a few explicit photos of me in the past, with my consent. He said that he hadn't shared any of those pictures, but just spoken about it. I told him this is way out of line, and I've been at my sister's house ever since. I have no idea how to deal with this. I consider it a massive breach of consent, and I don't know what got into his head. I'd love any advice to help me navigate through this. I do love him, but I'm not sure how to move past this. Is there even a way past this for us? How do I approach this? Update. Trigger warning for revenge porn. About 3 weeks ago, my husband approached me about having sex with his friend, and I had already spoken to him about it. I left the house that day, but moved back in 2 weeks ago. Today, I found nudes of myself on Reddit, the ones he took with my consent 3 months ago. To be clear, he had my consent to take the nudes, but they were meant for him only, not to share on effing Reddit. I don't know if it's his account that's uploaded them, or someone else that he shared them with, as it's a throwaway. When I asked him about it last month, he said he would never share any of my nudes with anyone. Well, how did they get up there then? He's either shared them with someone without your consent, or he uploaded them himself. Either way, he's committed a crime. Anyway, they're up there now. I'm planning to speak with him about it when he's back tonight, but I also want to know my options if he doesn't cooperate. I've submitted a request to Reddit to have them taken down, but do I have any legal recourse beyond that? Thank you. Down in the comments, D. Spiny says, unauthorized publication of intimate images is a criminal offense. If you're of a mind to do so, you can make a police report. Your husband, if convicted, may be fined or jailed and will have a criminal record for a sexual offense, making it hard for him to have a career dealing with vulnerable clients in the future. If you're at the point where you'd see your husband jailed for this, which is valid, I probably would be, you may also want to consider if you want him to be your ex-husband. If so, talk to a divorce lawyer before you talk to the police. OP responded and said, thank you, what if the pictures are taken down? Do I still have a case? I've taken screenshots just in case. I also don't know if it's him who posted them or someone he might have shared them with. Anthony Pooh says, what alerted you to the fact that your photos were on Reddit? Did he drop a hint? OP said, I've been searching through subs because I've been paranoid about this ever since the incident 3 weeks ago. Well, new fear unlocked. It's hard to permanently wipe nudes from the internet once they're up there. Gotta be so careful who you send them to. You'd think you could trust your husband. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law if she expects me to get a DNA test for my son, then I want her to get a DNA test for my husband? Posted by GoldLake4903. I, 30 female, met my husband Steven, 32 male, through a friend. We instantly connected and started dating not long after. We've been happily married for 5 years now and have a 4-month-old son. I met my mother-in-law at his uncle's funeral. He asked me to attend in support of him. But before we left, his cousin warned me about mother-in-law. He said she wasn't the nicest person, that she had impossibly high standards to meet and can be quite judgmental, so don't take it personally, as she's like that with everyone. I asked my husband, and he agreed that mother-in-law can be quite judgmental, but not to worry, that he'll be there for me. I think they gave me the sugar-coated version of her because she was terrible. She made a scene about bringing a stranger to a family funeral, but my husband cut her off and said his aunt, who was the uncle's widow, said he could. She spent the rest of the funeral giving me nasty looks and making passive-aggressive comments. She also made a scene at our wedding, but that's a different story all on its own. After minimal contact with mother-in-law, my husband eventually told her that I was pregnant. I expected her to be angry and have a go at him, but she surprised us both and was the complete opposite. She was excited about being a grandmother. She was congratulating us. Her attitude did a complete turn, and I grudgingly allowed her to visit. When it was time to give birth to my son, she wanted to see my son being born, but I refused. That's when her ugly side reared its head. She caused a scene and was thrown out. I refused to let her visit us at home, and my husband agreed, but she ran crying and apologizing. She said she was just overwhelmed with being a grandmother, and her emotions got the better of her. Against my better judgment, I relented and said okay. When she first told him, she looked at me and said he was beautiful. I went into the kitchen to get us a drink, and I could hear my husband telling her to get out. I came back in, and she started yelling that he needed to get the baby tested because he doesn't look like anyone in their family. He kicked her out. She told everyone that I cheated on my husband, and that my husband needs to get a DNA test to prove that he was the dad. She got a lot of attention for that. So, I made my own post and said I'll get a test done when she tests for a son. That just made everything worse. She rang my husband up telling him to take it down. He just hung up on her. Everyone's divided and questioning my husband's paternity since she had such a strong reaction to it. Now, even my husband is starting to wonder, and it's making me feel like I went too far. I'm thinking, am I the a-hole for saying that? Wow, imagine if she just outed herself after all of these years. Not the a-hole, OP just used the Uno reverse card to perfection. Am I the a-hole for saying to my mum at a family dinner, well, I wouldn't stay with a man who hits my kids, so I guess we have different priorities. Posted by Mother Slice. I'm low contact with my parents because growing up, my dad was physically abusive and my mum was emotionally absent and neglectful. They're in town visiting other family members and we all decided to have a family dinner to catch up. For some background, my boyfriend usually gets me a nicer main gift for whatever holiday we're celebrating, along with one or two smaller side gifts. The side gifts are usually something like a funny t-shirt or a stuffed animal. Last year, for my birthday, one of the smaller gifts my boyfriend got me was a sweatshirt from Costco. It's just a grey sweatshirt with Costco's logo printed repeatedly all over it. My boyfriend said he just saw it and thought I'd like it, and he was right. I really like it and wear it all of the time. I wore the Costco sweatshirt to the family dinner last night. Someone at the table complimented it and I said, thanks, my boyfriend got it for me for my birthday. My mother scrunched up her nose and said loudly, he got you a sweater from Costco for your birthday? I told her that wasn't the only thing he got me for my birthday, and she replied, oh good, I would never stay with a man who gave me a sweatshirt from Costco as a gift. I was pretty put off at that point, so I said, well, I wouldn't stay with a man who hits my kids, so I guess we have different priorities. My mum didn't really respond at that point, and I could tell my dad was pissed. They stayed pretty quiet throughout the rest of the dinner. They don't like it when I bring up the fact that they used to hit us as kids in front of people outside of our immediate family. My mum and dad were pretty angry at me when everyone left and told me there was no need to embarrass my mum at dinner. They asked me to apologise, and I won't. I am second guessing though, am I the a-hole? I gotta ask, why are you having dinner with these people? Easy, not the a-hole. I used my meal plan to feed over 120 less fortunate people. Our next post is from the MaliciousCompliance subreddit. Posted by Rotom Roomba. This happened in my freshman year of college about 20 years ago. My university had just invested in a big new dining hall, and to help pay for their investment, they required all new students to buy a 150 meal plan for both semesters. This was a big financial burden, being from a lower middle class family, but my parents pulled funds together to help me out and make it happen. Shortly into my first semester, I found out from friends that the meals you don't use didn't roll over. Since I lived off campus, I knew I wouldn't be able to use them all. Heading into November, I realised I would end up with 60 to 75 meals left over. I complained about this a lot to my friends and family because it seemed like such a waste. In comes the plan. My freshman year of college was also my cousin's senior year, and we hung out pretty often. He was the biggest trickster type you've ever met. One night, while we were drinking, he says, "What if you brought in a bunch of homeless people to use up your meals? How much would that piss off all those self-righteous bastards?" We laughed all night, but the more I thought about the idea, the more I really started to like it. We talked all weekend about it and hatched a plan. On Monday morning, we went down to the local Salvation Army around the corner. I've grown to really despise this organisation, but in the early 2000s, in a small town in the USA, it's all we had. We told the lady at the desk that I'd like to feed people in need with my meal plan. She was hesitant at first, but she said she was working with people that this would be a huge blessing to, especially during the holiday season. She helped me organise 2 days the following week, where around 30 people would meet me to eat in the dining hall. I would wear a certain hat so they could find me, and we'd go and eat. The day finally arrived, and all kinds of people were there. There were homeless people in tattered clothes. There were families with kids that seemed excited to eat out. There was even one family I will always remember that seemed embarrassed to take the handout, but I made an effort to talk to everyone and make them feel welcomed. At noon, we headed into the dining hall. I walked up to the lady at the entrance and said, "These people are with me. They're my friends. I would like to swipe them in." She looked confused, but reluctantly let us in. To say we got every reaction humanly possible would be an understatement. There were staff that were obviously annoyed with the influx of diners. There were students that were laughing, students that were giving me the silent clap, and there were also a few snobbish faculty members that seemed to be disgusted at the type of people coming into the dining hall. I didn't care at all. Eventually, a head of staff member came up and said they knew what I was doing and they didn't like it. I said, "These are my friends eating with me. I paid for these meals. Am I doing anything wrong?" She was stumped. The next day, the same situation happened with the same reactions. It seemed I'd caused quite a stir on campus, and it just so happened that the university president was eating there that day. She came up to me and said even though she would ask me to not tell my friends to do the same thing with their meals, as the staff couldn't handle the influx of diners, she was proud that one of her students had the heart to do something for others like that. The following semester, I did the exact same thing. I even used my meals sparingly so I could bring more people. The one memory that will stick in my head forever is the family with the little kids, so excited to go to the pizza bar and soft serve ice cream machine, giggling the whole time. To this day, it's still one of the proudest moments of my life. Me, my friends and my family still chuckle over the story and the snooty, angry reactions I got. This is the most wholesome, malicious compliance I've ever read. Remember, I post new content every day, so subscribe for more juicy tea.